Hello, welcome back. Today we're going over what happened this week with Tarkov. It's the week after a lot of the big controversy stuff has happened. So what's going on? And not just Tarkov, like Helldivers 2 and Microsoft letting go studios that are producing good, successful games. Like there's all kinds of BS happening in the gaming industry. But I'm going to focus on Tarkov at this minute. Maybe we'll touch on the other stuff just as like, yeah, this is also happening, so be aware. I am an EOD owner, Edge of Darkness owner. There's the symbol there. You can see I don't have extended pockets. I mention this because I'm going to turn off my camera. I have access to the PvE zone. And I'm going to click this real quick to show you because I think it's still active. Let me see. You click this to switch to the PvE servers. And I'm going to turn my camera back on. So, because they originally intended this only for Unheard Edition people to have this, you get the Unheard Edition symbol when you transfer, which I think is funny. It's funny and a little bit frustrating because there's no way this mode should have ever been exclusive to Unheard Edition people. As I've mentioned in the video before, when I first saw that, I was ready to be done with this game because I felt like I paid for something that I wasn't getting, and that was a no-go for me. But they backtracked that after a bunch of stink came up, and they said, you will get it, and I said, fine, as long as I'm getting what I paid for, I'm okay with the rest. Some of the other stuff was still a little iffy, but they're going to add the stuff as obtainable through quest. They're going to balance some things. So overall, okay, fine. They're also going to add the PvE mode as a separate purchasable thing that isn't just locked behind the Unheard Edition. Also, very good change. This is, by the way, this looks the same, but these are the PvE servers. If you look at my character, completely different set of stuff. I don't have the same items. I'm basically starting from scratch. The good thing about this mode, the nice thing that I've been waiting for even in the main game, is that there is no wipes in this. This is permanent progression, which is awesome. Now, I'll even show you my hideout, because my hideout's brand new as well. You don't have access to this. It's the same as the PvP servers, by the way. You build out your hideout just the same. I have nothing going yet, because I literally just started. I haven't found anything yet to upgrade other than the vents, because that only takes money. I haven't found any nuts and bolts. I found a couple of things for this. I still need toothpaste and the owl. But overall, I'm just starting. Now, what does it feel like to play this mode? Well, it's interesting so far. Instead of PMCs, you get rogues that play as PMCs, and they act very differently. I did not have a lot of exposure to rogues yet because on the PvP side, I'm only on my third wipe, and I'm just starting to get to the point where I'm getting questing for Lighthouse and going there. And that's like the first map you really get experience and exposure to rogues. And they're very deadly. If they have line of sight of you, and you kind of just stay in their line of sight, they're just gonna straight up kill you. Like, they're basically like bosses in that regard. You can't attack them straight on typically. You have to kind of LOS them, line of sight them, and they have to like come to you. Excuse me. Oh. So you have to line of sight them, ideally move to a different spot while staying line of sight, and they will typically move in such a way to try and flank you. And if you can kind of keep an eye on where you were, you can usually get a flank shot on them and kill them pretty quickly. You can attack them head on sometimes, but you better get a headshot pretty quickly, otherwise they're probably going to hurt you pretty bad. At least start tagging them in the chest or something. So PvE mode is by no means a pushover mode, and in fact, you have to deal with an increased number of scav AI because there's practically no other entity on the map that's killing scavs for you. And if you go into offline mode and try this and you just put scavs to as in online and you just go around the map, there's a surprising number of scav AI that are just roaming around that you typically don't see in the PvP servers because there's other PvPers around, there's other players that are killing them. So there's a big difference there as well. So PvE mode still provides a challenge. I don't think mods are implemented yet. They did say they're going to implement those. I'm curious to see how that works out. Someone did mention that technically with mods you could maybe support PvP mode in the PvE servers, which would be kind of nuts. Basically Tarkov with mods with PvP. I don't know what's possible. We'll see what happens. I'm just curious to see when mods get implemented, how that feels. So that's the PvE side. Overall, will I play it? For now, I'm going to switch back to the PvP side here. For now, because of my progression I have in the PvP side, I think what I want to do is continue playing the PvP side for this wipe. And then maybe once this wipe's over, I will switch to trying to the PvE side to make progression there, since it doesn't ever wipe. And maybe play it off camera here and there. And see how far I can push things to see if I can, how far in the quest lines I can get exposure, stuff like that. See if I can get used to the rogue AI, because that's good practice there. And it's just good practice overall. I'm just going to show, yeah, because again, you can see there's very different set of gear. You have your own stuff. Hideout's completely different, of course. The other big thing with Tarkov is Arena. And I'm going to do a quick switch over there once this hideout loads. Because there's something that's done here. Oh, it's just that. So let me deal with this. I'm going to switch over to Arena. I'm going to show you that. Okay, here's Arena. It's still loading. But as soon as we get in here, I'm going to show you the new mode they added. And I'm just glad I heard they released it, because I didn't know they released this until I saw someone mention it. It was pretty quick after they added it that someone mentioned it. I heard it. I was like, oh, this is good, actually, because this is what Arena needed from the start. So they have unranked mode, but that's not the big thing. They have last hero mode. This is their free-for-all mode. And I have just Sawmill because I wanted to see what that was like, because I wasn't getting queued for Sawmill. I highly recommend Chop Shop. Sawmill was fun. Bay 5 was okay. I think Bay 5 is serviceable for this mode. Bowl is also another one that's serviceable. I didn't really like Equator, but it wasn't the worst. So that one, I still is like, that's on the list still if you want to add it. I might need to play that a little bit more. Air Pit, I really didn't like all that much. But the worst one for me was Block, which I think is their newest map. For Last Hero, I hated this map. If you watch my gameplay on Arena, because I have a video out there of me playing Arena and what that looks like, Block was by far the worst experience I had. I would spawn in literally the same spot multiple times over, and I was just getting camped there. It was like, in some places you get spawned, it's a dead end. You only have one way to go. Terrible map for this mode. Don't recommend it. I don't really recommend Air Pit, but you could probably still add it, like it's playable, and it might be better with different types of play styles. So I might have to play that one a little bit more. Block was by far the worst one. I hated that one. I couldn't stand it. But by all means, if you want to try it, go ahead, see for yourself. Personally, I didn't like it. So that's my recommendations on the map. Chop Shop by far was the best. Last Hero and Chop Shop is amazing. And the mode, by the way, is you pick a loadout, and right now, currently, as of the time of this recording, there's only tier 2 sets or tier 3 sets, and that's it. There's no tier 1 sets, and the tier 2 sets are fun. Not all tier 2 sets have headsets. Some of them do, so you kind of have to get used to that if you're used to playing with headsets. And I kind of wish they would add more of these loadouts with just having headsets as a default, because in the base game, you always have a headset. And it's weird to train, like playing the game without a headset, because that's never the case that you're going to play in the base game. So I don't know why not every single one of these, why they all don't have headsets. The only ones that make sense that don't are the ones that have helmets that don't support headsets. that makes sense. Like, yeah, of course, if you're using this type of helmet, you're not going to have a headset. That's the same as the base game. If you want to use this in the base game, you're going to have to deal with that. And by all means, have these type of loadouts that have these headsets, because people need to train with that too. But if I have a helmet that can use a headset, like I'm pretty sure this one can, put a headset on it. It doesn't make any sense. So they need to change that. But overall, it's free for all. You just pick one of these loadouts, and there's 4 different categories that you can work towards. I was using CQB, and I was having a blast on Chop Chop. Other maps might be better suited towards other loadouts, but let me put it to you this way. I was using Ox on Sawmill, and you'd be surprised how effective it is having an RPD versus most people that are trying to snipe on that map. The second you spot somebody, they're just probably dead because you can just unload bullets until they die, and they just can't do anything about that because they can't shoot you because they're trying to aim, and you're pelting them with just round after round. It's amazing. So I recommend trying that. That's a blast. So Last Hero is probably the thing that I will play Arena for the most, because that is just so much fun. The second, and I mean the second they link this up with the base game, which, because they haven't done it yet, I think they're planning, and this is speculation by the way, I think they're planning on when they wipe the base game next is when they're going to link Arena and when they're going to link the base game. And the second they do that, I'm going to be playing Last Hero quite a bit, because you get XP like crazy. You just have a ton of fun. It's great PvP practice. Like, this is the PvP practice everybody needs is the Last Hero. You go in, pick a loadout, you're the second the match starts, you're in. There is no like gate opening. You just start. And the second you die, if you hit the spacebar, you don't want to change your preset. But by the way, you can change loadouts while in that mode. Once you die, just pick another one if you want to pick something different. But if you just want to respawn as quick as possible, you just hit the spacebar and it respawns you like almost instantly. So you're just constantly in the action. And for EFT to get PvP practice, that's the best. And it's just fun. It is just fun. It's amazing. I can't recommend it enough. Try that. You won't be disappointed. If you have access to Arena, if you've been waiting to get access to Arena, that might be the time to start, because that's good. Especially once they link up the two, the value is going to be there. And especially if they put it on sale in like their summer sale or something, because I think they do sales every summer, I heard. I can't confirm that 100%, but I've heard that, and I've seen sales on the EFT site here and there, so watch out for that. That might be the time to grab it. And if they time it with the wipe, if they time it when linking up to the game, that would be very smart on their part. That could see a boost in sales. Based on their latest, decisions, we'll see what happens. Because latest decisions lately haven't been the best, but things are moving forward in a positive way. That's all I can say towards that. So, yeah, I got the base game out of the way. The PvE mode, that's awesome that that's starting to go out to EOD owners. They did say waves, so I might have just been part of the first wave. If you're an EOD owner and don't have it, be patient. If they already started releasing the first wave, it's usually not long, based on the way they did Arena, that the rest of EOD owners are going to get it. I would say 2 to 3, 4 weeks max, probably, based on the timing that they did for Arena. So PvE mode is coming for everybody. If you don't have it yet, it's probably coming very soon. It's both good, and I have a mixed reaction with it. Like, the rogues are kind of iffy to deal with. It's like it's its own game almost, because it plays differently, because like I said, scavs are different because there's so many of them, and because of that you get XP really quickly because you have to wipe out so many scavs. You end up leaving the map, if you survive, 10, 12, 15 kills, maybe more. That's a ton of XP. In the base game, I'm lucky if I leave with like a 2 or 3 scav kills, maybe a PMC kill here or there, and I get some XP that way. You get so much more XP in the PvE mode. And Arena, once they linked it up, if you're picking free loadouts, if you're doing the free-for-all mode and all this other stuff, and the unranked map, you're going to get so much XP and money, it's ridiculous. It'll be really interesting to see how that all plays out. Other than that, the only thing I can talk about is other controversies outside of Tarkov. Helldivers 2, Sony made a bonehead decision to force PSN account sign-up, and Sony has had a bad track record of keeping data safe. Not to mention, not every country has PSN accounts sign up, so people that bought the game in those countries can't even play the game after that. Steam, as a result, ended up issuing refunds because they said, well, Sony changed the terms of service after point of sale, so even if you have more than 2 hours, you can refund the game now. Sony quickly reversed that decision because their wallet started getting hurt, but also they started getting review bombed on Steam like crazy, and I was one of them because I was not happy. If you find my review, it literally said, not playing Helldivers 2 if I have to make a PSN account. They reversed that, so I will play Helldivers 2 again. So, fine. Major order complete, as some people have been putting. The community manager that told people to do that, by the way, got fired. No update on if they're going to get rehired or anything like that. I hope they find something better down the road. They were a hero, a legend for saying that to people. Hey, just review bomb. That's the best option you got. Make your voices heard. That's exactly what a community manager should have done, and they got fired for it. Terrible. My guess is Sony was behind that. You know, Sony probably felt like, you know, hey, if we're gonna take the heat for this, somebody has to pay the price, and they chose some rando community manager to just say go review bomb. It's just like, I don't know. My thing about Sony and Microsoft, speaking of Microsoft, is I just don't like them anymore. I just straight up don't like them. They have to release an amazing game for me to buy it going forward, because both of them have just been acting terrible. Microsoft has been letting go studios that were behind the games like Hi-Fi Rush and Prey, and it's just terrible. Like, you make a successful hit game and you still get let go by these giant corporations. It's disgusting. Microsoft was, I guess, looking to save money because they purchased Activision Blizzard King for $70 billion, and even successful franchises or developers like Arcane Studios were not safe from being axed, unfortunately, as a result. It just shows that you can't, and I guess what they refer to, based on a little bit I read about this, is that Game Pass sales were not meeting expectations. They weren't growing at the rate they were hoping. And so they didn't feel like studios that were producing games that would be good for their Game Pass catalog were worth saving around and spending the money on, because they needed to save money because they just spent a boatload on Activision Blizzard King, which, by the way, should have absolutely been stopped for monopoly reasons. But giant corporations have enough money to where they somehow, I wonder how, got by all the regulations bodies that exist in both the US and even in the UK, to where they were not stopped from acquiring Activision Blizzard King under monopoly rules and like regulations. If that doesn't tell you the state of our just overall like governments and all that, I don't know what does. But yeah, the corruption is terrible. So yeah, it just goes to show that people are like, oh, Microsoft's gonna save Blizzard, blah blah blah. It's like, Microsoft's not any better. Like, yeah, Bobby Kotick was a terrible person to have as a CEO for a game studio, or any studio really. But what makes you think Microsoft's any better? They're not. They're all the same. You got your Sonys, your Microsofts, your Google. Remember Stadia? Yeah. Remember how they said they weren't gonna axe that one? Remember what happened there? They're all the same. They're all the same. So just keep your wits about you. Support good games made by smaller developers. That's the best way you can fight against this. Giant corporations, like I said, I'll buy an amazing game still, but they got, for me, it's a much higher hurdle you have to get over than like a smaller studio that's just trying to make good games that aren't a bunch of BS, that have a bunch of live service mechanics. Let's put it that way. Helldivers 2 was an exception, and you know, it takes something of that caliber to make an exception for me. And if we all held that like idea, you know, like if we all got behind together like the way we did with the Helldivers 2 controversy, we could, you know, force them to actually do things that are in the consumer's best interest. Until then, they're going to just keep pushing the envelope as much as possible. You know, Diablo Immortal by Activision Blizzard King showed what that looks like. So, and they're on Microsoft's team now, and it's not like Microsoft all of a sudden turned that game off and said, no, we don't want the microtransactions. No, of course they kept that on. So, yeah, I don't trust any of them. BSG is also on my watch list for, like, I paid you, I better get what I paid for. I've been getting what I paid for. They reversed the PvE mode. So I'm okay, and I think EFT, because of the controversy, actually pushed them to realize the mistakes they made and should push EFT into a brighter future, especially now since they're feeling a lot of competition from Gray Zone Warfare. I did buy the game and try it, and personally, I did hear about performance issues, but I'm like, I have a 7900 XTX, maybe I'll be okay. No. I had queue problems. Once I was in the game, I had performance problems. Even with all tweaking settings, this and that, FSR, whatever, turning down this and that, I still had performance issues. For now, personally, I refunded it. It's not up to snuff. And hopefully, later down the road, when they patch these issues out with major patches, updates, and all that stuff, I will revisit it because I am interested in the game. I want to experience it, but the performance issues I'm seeing right now, it's not worth it for me to try and slug through that level of performance issue. I didn't get into EFT until fairly recently, like a year. Now it's about a year and a month ago, maybe no, a year and a handful of months ago, like 2 or 3 months, and that was when the game was really starting to come towards like, oh, this is a more feature complete game, because the extremely early access type of experiences I don't personally like. It has to have some amount of game fleshed out there for me. Last Epoch was another one. I didn't get in immediately, but once they started adding more stuff, I got into it, and now the 1.0 release, it's been a good time. I gotta get back more into that. That's a good one. Alright, I think I've rambled enough. That's all the stuff for this week. If you've experienced Last Hero mode, let me know how that's going for you. I think it's the best thing Arena's done. They should have had that from the beginning. That would have been the biggest win. Once they linked us to the base game, I think that's the mode that a lot of people are going to go to. Maybe not. We'll see. That's just me personally. I've been really liking it. If you have Arena and you haven't tried Last Hero mode, unranked Last Hero mode. You're not going to see this in ranked. It's not going to be there. You have to go to unranked, Last Hero mode, pick that. I highly recommend Chop Shop. You've already heard my other recommendations. Stay away from Block, personally. I mean, if you want to try and see for yourself, but Block for me was terrible. Try it out. If you already have it, you have nothing to lose. If you don't have Arena, maybe wait for the sale. Maybe wait for when they link up the game. But it's starting to get to a point where it's like, okay, Arena's starting to come around. They've added the armor update system to the game to where they have plates, and you get shot in the side where there's gaps, you're going to get hurt. So that's been updated too. It's matching the base game. EFT has added PvE mode. It's going to be added as a separate purchasable thing. I think EFT has a bright future. We'll see if they can stick the landing though. So because Unheard Edition was a giant misstep, I really hope they learn from that. Let me know whatever as far as anything else. Thank you for listening. We'll see how it all goes. Have a good one. Get out of here. Bye.